It's been 2 years since Kirby Smart won a national championship at Georgia, and it's the time of year where we do lists because it's May and nobody knows what else to talk about. So our friends over at ESPN have a list of top 10 coaches in college football, and my question to you is this: does ESPN have Kirby Smart number one overall, or have they made a mistake? I'll just put it to you that way. I don't mean it disrespectfully to anybody else, but it's clear that he's the best program runner, if nothing else. All right, so let's get right to the list. Iowa State's Matt Campbell is number 10. People have been enamored with him for some time. Kyle Whittingham, who has been someone that I've been an advocate for in these type of rankings for a significant amount of time, he's number 9. James Franklin at number 8. Kalen DeBoer at number 7, probably leaning on a lot of what he did at UW. Dan Lanning at Oregon. Steve Sarkisian at number 5, which I think is Marcus Freeman at 4, who had a very good season, certainly a very good close to the season. Dabo is at the 3. So it comes down to who's number 1 and who's number 2 between Ryan Day, who just won a national championship, and Kirby Smart at Georgia, who has got a couple and has that win over Ryan Day. We preview the 2025 season. I want to put this on the screen. We've got Gunner on the cover, not Kirby. Kirby is on the cover the back cover of national championship books, of which we've got a couple. Make sure if you want your 2025 preview that you're clicking the link down below or you're seeing the QR code on the screen. I'm only going to print a particular number of these, so get in now. They're going to ship out in mid to late June. So we've already got the cover. We've got a lot of the mag written. Make sure you're signing in. Not signing in. Make sure you're signing up for that. The link's down below. You saw it on the screen. So who do they have at number 1? Number 2, they've got Ryan Day. I think that's the right call. I wouldn't say red flags with Ryan Day. That's the wrong way to put it. When you get to this stage, you've got to pick someone at 1. And for me, putting Day at 2 is probably correct. I think, to be honest with you, this just becomes a discussion of how many national championships do you have and how often have you won them. There's a lot of momentum. I'm not sure necessarily where it's coming from for Clemson right now. And so you've got Dabo is going to be higher up than maybe people would have been braver, I guess you could say. A lot of people will just count national championships and say this person should be that high. But I do have to say it's been a while for Dabo. Not for the national championship stuff, but just like having a solid, good season, probably since 2020. So it's been a little bit of time. Ryan Day has certainly had a better run since then. Kirby clearly has. But there's been a lot of transition in that time. Going with Marcus Freeman at 4, I think Marcus Freeman, Steve Sarkisian, and Dan Lanning are in the same boat personally. I think that they all three very well could win national championships. I don't think Marcus Freeman will win the national championship at Notre Dame. That's my opinion. I don't think that will happen. I don't think it's likely that Notre Dame will win the national championship. Just generally speaking, I think he is the best coach for them. I think Notre Dame is not taking college football seriously the way that Ohio State, Georgia, etc. are. And so, they almost beat Ohio State a couple of times lately. They beat Georgia this past season. Yeah, well, Ole Miss beat Georgia, and I'm not picking them to win a national championship anytime soon. So I think, though, that those 3 that I'm talking about there, Freeman, Sark, and Dan Lanning, those are guys that are national championship caliber coaches that probably should win national championships. Oregon and Notre Dame, that's trickier than winning it at Texas. I'll just tell you like it is. And I think, for me, Texas should win a national championship sooner than later, but Georgia should too. And I think right now, this season coming up, as important as winning the SEC championship is and was in 2024, as big a deal year inside of college football as Georgia had last year. Like, what I mean is, like, with insiders, it still was slightly disappointing. And yeah, I'm saying it. I don't think there's, we've entered a new era here, and winning the league is always a huge deal. But when you get knocked out in the first round by a team that really wasn't great, that's that's a problem. So I think Kirby's got something to prove this season. I think, though, with that said, a moment ago, this season in 25, I mean, Georgia's not obviously the best team. Um, I don't know who is the best team, obviously. Some people would say Texas, Ohio State, perhaps. I would imagine it's one of those two. You do see Penn State and Clemson. I've seen them ranked number one. I don't know if those are legitimately thought out arguments, to be honest with you, with Clemson specifically. With Penn State, I think there's this notion of they've got a lot of guys returning, including their starting quarterback. Clemson's got good players on the defense returning, and they have their starting quarterback coming back. I don't, Ohio State won with a transfer quarterback this last year. We can't get so, enamored with returning quarterbacks. I mean, Georgia had a returning quarterback in 24 who was not nearly as good as he was in 23. So when he was not the returning starting quarterback. So there's all of that. Here's what Mark Schlabach writes about Kirby. He says, Smart needs only 5 wins to move second all-time in wins in the first 10 seasons of a coach's career. Entering this season, he trails only Chris Peterson, who was at Boise, Bob Stoops, who was great at Oklahoma, and George Woodruff, who was at Penn with 124 wins. I don't see Kirby figuring out how to get to. Well, he could catch George Woodruff actually this season. That's amazing. Now we play more games now. Here's further on why it's the second year in a row that Kirby's been selected as number one by ESPN. It said, with more first-round draft picks 20 than losses, 19 in his 9 seasons as coach at his alma mater, and back-to-back national championships in 21 and 22. It's hard to argue anyone would be, other than Smart, it's hard to argue it could be anyone other than Kirby with Nick Saban retired. I guess if Ryan Day guided Ohio State to a second national championship or Dabo Swinney captured his third at Clemson, you can make the case they're better. I don't think Georgia's program is going to slip anytime soon. That was from Mark Schlabach. Ohio State could go back-to-back. No one else can. So there's that. But, there's definitely, we're hitting, we are at the proving moment because it's coming up to the season. And that's what this is. It is a consistent measuring stick of things. And every year, every week in the league, every practice, you are measuring yourself as a program, as a coach, as a player. These arbitrary measurements from ESPN, who I think generally speaking does a very good job of covering college football. They are arbitrary. I would go 1-2 with Ryan Day, and I would go Kirby 1-2. I don't know that I would have Dabo at 3. Not like I got an issue with him necessarily. Here's what ESPN writes. Kyle, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. He says, no shade here. There's not a clear line of delineation between number 3 and number 6, and there are logical arguments that can be made to advocate for Swinney as high as number 1. There's not logical arguments, actually. No, that you have the same as someone who's beaten you twice, once decisively. No, it's not the same. So when splitting hairs, I think I dropped Swinney below the consensus because his recent success hasn't matched up to his peak success. I think there's not a line of clear delineation. I agree with that. I don't think your notion that Dabo should be number 1 is based with a good argument. I think it could be based in reality that you could argue that, but yeah, look, it's not the same. I would say, you can't do this. This is the wrong way to do it. This is like what would happen. Where would Ryan Day be if they make the field goal to win it against Georgia? Then they didn't, because that didn't happen. But if Dabo doesn't win the ACC championship game or doesn't even get into it, thanks Syracuse, we're having a very different discussion of Dabo Swinney right now. We're having a very different discussion of Dabo Swinney right now. Are we having a different discussion of Kirby? No, Ryan Day would be number 1. So, yeah, it would be a different discussion, but he would still have that championship. there would be more pressure on Dabo. I mean, he's been around for a while. They're not going to get rid of him or anything like that. But he was never Nick Saban, and people tried to make him that. I don't think people ever tried legitimately to make Kirby Nick because it was such a clear distinction. One worked for the other. Anyway, I like Marcus Freeman. I think 4 might be too high. I would have Sark in front of him. But I do think they are in the general, those 1, 2, 3. I think you could make the case that moving forward, they will have more success than Dabo will at Clemson. But, we'll see. Dabo has an easier path, that's for sure. I mean, Notre Dame's got a pretty easy path. But, Texas, Oregon, power leagues. Let me talk about Kalen DeBoer just for a second. It's an important season for him. But, that's a challenging schedule too. I mean, they got to go to Georgia. They have the usual rigmarole in the SEC. It's not going to be easy for Alabama. And that's just the way it is. Look, James Franklin, either you're going to win a national championship or you're not. Otherwise, I don't care. So we've really gotten to the point where, and outside of this, we don't see Hugh Freeze. We don't see Lane Kiffin. We don't see Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel's a really good coach. I would almost have him in this top 10, to be honest, for me. But when it comes down to who you're ranking number 1 overall, I mean, again, let me just say this about Josh Heupel. He's done a superb job at Tennessee. I mean, he really has done a great job. If you think about it, how bad they were for such a long time at Tennessee. It's not dissimilar to what Dabo did at Clemson. We're not at year 9 or whatever it is when Dabo won it for the first time. But, well, it might not have been year 9, but it was pretty far. It wasn't year 5. So, let's see what Josh Heupel does. Josh Heupel's problem is, it was Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. It's still Kirby Smart. That's challenging for him, and now he's got to figure out a quarterback. But anyway, I think it's a good list. I think it makes sense. I don't think anyone is way high. I think if you want to say I would have James Franklin over Kalen DeBoer, I would not. But that's me. If you want to say I would have Kalen DeBoer over Dan Lanning, I could definitely listen to that argument as well. I think to some degree what I was saying earlier, I will actually include Kalen DeBoer in this group. I think just 9-4 was just not an impressive 9-4 at Alabama this past season. But they've got Kirby number 1. You tell me what you think. Hate all you want, haters. Let's see the comments down below. Disney Dogs, you can do the same thing. Kirby Klingons, put it all down below. Thanks for watching.